I'm James Hates Everything, and this is the hardest hour in home arcade. So let's get into it. How is everybody doing tonight? And I appreciate you joining me this Saturday evening. I know last week we skipped, and I appreciate you coming back and joining us. And first up, I want to give a shout out to Kevin Clausen, who early on dropped a $2 super chat. So I just wanted to say thank you to him. It has came and went, so I can't click on it and bring it up for some reason. But again, Kevin, appreciate all the support and you coming by. And so let's just take a few moments before we jump into tonight's topics to say hello to everyone in the chat. And of course, first up is Jason Lil Alien, the moderator extraordinaire. Thank you for dropping by tonight, Jason. As always, appreciate you. Paul Mindeman is in the house, and he has been out in the yard working like a dog for his kids. Great guy. Goofy Foot is in the house, rolling that 666 sub count. Yeah, so Mark of the Beast, Papa Brad says, and Jason says, let's get that to 667 so no demons come, but the demons are always here. Paul Mindeman wants everybody to know that the arcade apocalypse is upon us. And Goofy Foot says, who'd have thought that someone that hates everything is the Antichrist? You have no idea. Hey, Jim the Pacers fan, thanks for dropping by. And good luck painting. I assume you're painting a room. Maybe you're painting the whole outside of your house. Maybe you're just painting a painting. Decadent Dave, thanks for stopping by, and says the only one hurting Arcade1up is Arcade1up themselves, of course, and we will get into that in just a minute. Darren Kane, thanks for dropping by, and he made it 667. So thank you much, Darren. As always, appreciate you dropping by. And this will be an interesting episode for him to chime in on. And everybody knows Darren is a former Arcade1up employee, so this ought to be interesting to hear from him. And Thumper Squid, thanks for dropping by. And he says, hello, wonderful gamers. And Jason giving a shout out to Darren. And Gramps Arcade, thanks for dropping by. And Damien Deal With It says, what's going on here? Well, we'll find out. And Chris Ford says hello, and hello right back at you. KFB is in the house and says, happy belated birthday to Papa Brad. Well, happy late birthday, Papa Brad. I did not know. Congratulations. Hopefully you got something good for your birthday. And that catches us up. So again, I want to thank everybody for dropping by tonight. And I just kind of thought we'd sit and chat, and specifically about really this post that I saw earlier this week in the Arcade1up official fan group Facebook. I found it interesting, right? So what jumped out at me, and I don't know how easy it is for you guys to see on this, so if you're having issues, let me know. And Midlife Arcade, thanks for dropping by. But I found this kind of interesting because this is, of course, Frank Drebin. He was one of the first people to drop pictures of the Costco, and some of the comments on that Costco exclusive. And before we jump forward, got to say hello to Ezekiel Chicago Retro Ranger with the coming in hot with the $4.99 super chat. Thank you, my good friend. He says, it's actually my fault, James. I stopped buying Arcade1up's and all went to hell. Well, there you go. Show is over. It is Ezekiel's fault. Appreciate that, Ezekiel. And as always, thanks for dropping by. And so So interestingly, so I wanted to kind of talk about this, right? So this Michael Scarnati, and apologies if I pronounced your name wrong, but he's like, there are people in this group trying to complain that there's nothing new from Arcade One Up, and they don't listen to their customers. Meanwhile, all the new stuff the customers begged for is still sitting on the shelves years later, and One Up is selling out at Costco. Good for them on pivoting from this toxic wasteland Facebook group and wannabe YouTubers. And then, of course, others jump in here. And Michael, been thinking the same thing. I've all but left the community because they took a lot of fun out of it. Now I'm just enjoying myself tremendously. Steven says, yeah, I just ignore the negative posts and hardly ever watch videos, so it's fine for me. Leighton says, I just saw them at Costco, probably had 10 on the floor. Some guy was playing for over 15 minutes, so I had to wait to take a look. I would consider it, but he just bought MK Deluxe. Peter says, very true. And Aubrey says, I think I made one video asking what was up with the company. Truthfully, my YouTube vids were normally pretty positive for the company and the community. I think we all got spoiled by little leaks that John D used to have leak out, or other lists that got leaked for release, which gave us hope for the future, blah, blah, blah. So, you juxtapose this kind of viewpoint that is coming out again and again that I see on Facebook and other social media, of the people that seem to really like this particular Golden Tee midway mashup cab that most of us just don't care for. And the people that like it are really kind of saying that, hey, the YouTubers are basically shitting on everything we like, and it sucks, and you guys are all super negative, and we just don't like participating anymore. And I find that interesting because you juxtapose that with, the folks that we know that are saying, hey, all the YouTubers are just a bunch of shills trying to get everybody to buy everything. So you have these big extreme viewpoints saying YouTubers hate everything or the YouTubers love everything. And I just found it interesting. And I will say, watching and listening to some of these posts and some videos from some of the people that bought this particular cab kind of has me thinking a little differently about things, which is kind of what spurred this whole thing on, right? It's strange because I don't like this cab at all, yet hearing from them, I don't know what it is. I'm going to call it FOMO for lack of a better word, because I have no desire to buy this cab, nor would I ever, but I'm excited for their excitement for some reason. I don't know how to put it any other way. Because I think this cab is not good, in my opinion. The controls are terrible. I think it's ugly. I think that the games don't go together. It's the key lineup on their Golden Tee's been released 6 times to this stage. Like, I don't like this at all. I get why some people might like it, but it's not up my alley. Yet it's interesting the feelings I get from the people that are positive about it, which again is making me kind of rethink how I would talk about some of these releases from Arcade One Up, because I can imagine if something I know is not up to the quality that I want, that their comments are making me excited for it. What does it do when we're actually excited for one of these things to people that maybe aren't either? Like, flip those roles. But Biggie D just dropped in, and I have got to know, Biggie, did you buy that pub table? So I'm sure you're going to hold that back for us and for a future video, but I'm dying to know. So you're going to have to let us know when that video comes out. Biggie says, there are some things I like and things I don't. I would pay $300, but I think $400 is not worth, Kevin Clausen says, that's fair, James. You can be happy for others, but FYI, this cab sucks. Yeah. So let's take a look, right? So that's the post that really got me thinking about this and really wondering, are YouTubers the problem? Are we the problem with Arcade1up? That it's our desire to have more arcade authentic product is the problem, that really we should be excited for these multicades that a million other companies release. And so let's kind of just take a look at what have sorry, a little tongue twisted here. What have YouTubers been saying about Arcade1up lately? Right. So we have, let's see, where are you going? It's terrible. Golden Combat, 20 games, but it's ugly. Holy crap, it's real. Look, and it just keeps going. Arcade1up is dead. The Slim Katie, what a pile of shack. It's not terrible. It's a fail. Like, Arcade1up's going out of business. Like, it's video after video of people just super negative about Arcade1up. And I guess you could call it super negative, or as I like to call it, just being truthful and real about what they think about it. So one of the things I did want to take a moment to shout out is this video here. This is a video from Plastic Flat Washers. So this is somebody that actually bought this cab and did a pretty lengthy. He's got actually 2 versions of this review out there, an extended cut and this one. Really enjoyed it. And so I thought I would just shout him out, share it for people, because if you want to see a video of somebody that actually really likes this thing and talks about it in a positive way, it's worth taking a look at and just hearing from somebody who truly likes this thing. Again, I can't agree enough with a lot of these things, right? So, you know, Console Fanboy says all those things are just honesty, and I agree with that. I think the people, like, I think it is terrible. I think the Slim Katie is terrible. I think, you know, basically almost everything Arcade1up has done this year is not good. It's just not. I mean, X-Men 97, people may like the cartoon, but what does it have to do with the titles on that game? Again, a game that had just been released a year earlier that they didn't really do anything else to. You had the re-release of the Golden Tee 3D, which was just in a smaller form factor for the XL that was already out. Let's see, you know, what are the NBA Jam Slim Edition? You have this thing. About the only thing that's halfway interesting is that Miss Pac-Man Galaga pub table at Costco. And that's not really new. I mean, they've done the Class of 81. They've done a head-to-head cocktail table Miss Pac-Man Galaga already. If not once, they've done it twice. You know, yes, it's taller. And I can see some value in it. It's certainly going to take up a lot of space in your arcade. So you got to have a kind of a layout that's conducive to having a bar top table in your arcade, really. But again, not really for me. I do understand why people would buy it. Again, you know, Biggie says Paperboy is unplayable. Damien says none of them have any pull on YouTube, being smaller channels. Yeah, 100%. Like, you know, Plastic Flat Washers is not somebody I was familiar with. He's been around on YouTube a long time, but doesn't get huge view counts. So this video, on the other hand, is pretty well viewed. He's getting a lot of traction from this. I don't remember the exact count, but it was pretty huge. You go look at his other videos; they're all pretty small. But to his credit, he's getting a lot of views for this particular one, and it's kind of worth taking a look at if you're at all interested in that, what somebody who owns it thinks. Zero Redux says, if not for this community, these new cabs wouldn't have 99% of their innovations. 100% agree with that, right? We go back to what Arcade1up was when it came out, and specifically ThinkUp, right? We know from comments from John D and others that ThinkUp thought that tiny scale, the size for kids, the ones that RGT likes, right? The no risers, small on the ground, they thought nobody would ever want anything other than that. They didn't think anybody wanted bigger ones. They didn't think anybody wanted um um that anybody wanted um risers or full size or anything like that. But it was this community, right, that pushed and pushed and pushed. It was this community that pushed for the better screens, the BOEs. It was this community that pushed for faux coin doors, uh, better marquees. I mean, you name it, pushing for different kinds of games, right? Like totally different kinds, like ones with steering wheels and light guns and just outside the norm of a standard just Pac-Man or Galaga or something. So I totally agree. This Miss Pac-Man Golden, or not Miss Pac-Man, but the Golden Tee Midway thing probably would never have existed if not for this community pushing Arcade1Up in that direction. And then on top of it, the retailer going too far the other way. But these XLs wouldn't exist if not for the home arcade community. So a lot of positive changes, and hopefully Arcade1Up, just because they see some success with a multi-cade like this, doesn't say forget the community. We're going to just go full out on weird multi-cades moving forward, but we'll see. I mean, they did do that NBA Jam thing. Mikey likes it. JJ says, "Is that cousin it playing it?" No, I think her hair's just in her face. So let's get this off the screen. Really, you'd still be shark fins. That design. We actually have right shaped cabs, even though they're smaller. If not for the people in this community really pushing that direction, and like the other businesses in this community that were modding these things and building graphics and new control panels and inline risers like GI Joel and all the other innovations, like who can forget Glenn's retro show, right? I mean, they stole from him, for crying out loud, because of the stuff he was doing. And so, a lot of the stuff would not exist without this community. And Carlo says, "Be nice, Jay. That's his wife." Yes. And I don't think he was not being nice. He was just saying her hair's in her face. Deccan Day says, "Shame shit repackaged." Midway Warner Brothers really must be desperate to allow their IPs and artwork to be misrepresented this way. Either that or they just don't care. I mean, it's probably small enough potatoes, and they don't have any of, think about it. There's no marquee. There's no like Mortal Kombat's not represented on this. So you're further down the chain in IPs that, are they super concerned with how Paperboy and Sinistar and even Galaga, I mean, Rampage, I guess they tried to make a movie out of once, but didn't go too well with The Rock. 2024 is done for A1UP. Everyone going to have to wait for 2025. Yeah, that's what I'm hearing too, that this is the releases, everything that's out. Maybe they'll surprise us, but that's, the rumor is going around is that's what's out is out, which seems odd because means they're not going to have anything for fourth quarter since Costco threw all these things out so early. They have bought thousands of subs yet, Damien. You need to show him the way. Biggie D says that M on the side is an eyesore. And P-Dubs dropping by. Of course, him and Biggie D were running all over Phoenix today. I saw a picture of them in an arcade. Biggie D still had to hunch over to play on the XL Arcade1Up. I think he was wearing lifts. Yeah, what? P-Dubs, I actually commented to Biggie when he posted his photo of his iArcade. He's like towering over that iArcade. And I'm like, man, how can you possibly play that thing? It looks like it's at his knees. So either Biggie D is super duper tall, which I suspect he's pretty tall. But he did say he sits on a stool. to play, but it surprised me how much taller he was than that iArcade. So I don't own an iArcade, so I don't know where it stands in comparison to everything else, but it seemed tiny next to him. This community people complain about buys 10 times the number of CADs. 100%, Paul, 100%. I mean, I bet everybody in here probably, at least in their lifetime, whether they still have them now, has bought more than 10 of these crazy things. I remember when John D laughed at us for asking for light up coin doors. Sticking Midway's logo on the top of the Golden Tee artwork and being relegated to mini logos on the side of the cabinet is a joke. Yeah, honestly, the mini logo thing takes me back to the early days of Arcade1Up, where you didn't even get a sticker of a coin door. They just threw those logos on there. And it was like, oh, we have to do the graphics now. Just throw the logos on the side and call it a day. It really felt like totally mailed in. And of course, the rest of the art just seems like a direct ripoff of that Arcade Legends multicade. ThinkUp had a few good ideas, IKEA packaging, the rest were pretty awful. Yeah, I mean, obviously, they came up with the design of this thing. So not everybody's going to hit 100%, and they admitted that they were wrong when they saw the sales of the other ones and pivoted. So that's good that they adjusted, and not everybody can hit it out of the park every time. And let's face it, without ThinkUp, there'd be no Arcade1Up. Fretburner says, "Hey guys, so thanks for dropping by." Biggie D is like 6'6" though. P-Dubs, yeah. P-Dubs says, "With lifts, Carl, with lifts." Some people are true haters, but most critics just want more cabs and better quality. Who freaking who 1UP? Yeah, so I totally agree with this, and in fact I say kind of just the opposite a little bit. I don't think that critics are haters. I think we don't give a shit about Arcade1Up, the company. What we want is the products. We'd probably have more love for Arcade1Up, the company, if they were releasing the cabs we wanted. We just that's why we're loyal to the recreations of the arcades or the arcades themselves. We're not loyal to Arcade1Up as customers. I don't think anybody in here is like, just a big Arcade1Up customer. Maybe the cornercade, if he sees this. I think he is. It's not that we dislike Arcade1Up, but we don't agree with a lot of the directions they go to, and we just want what we want. And if they were delivering that in a consistent basis, I think it would be different. People would have more love for Arcade1Up. But for the most part, we're, as consumers, in my opinion, and you guys can definitely disagree with me, that we just want those recreations, affordable home arcades to put in our arcade. And if any company came along and made those at an affordable price, we would buy theirs. There's no love for Arcade1Up as a company. Like, how many people are just rushing out to buy the Midway Golden Tee thing just because it's Arcade1Up's newest product? I mean, there are probably some people out there, but I think it's pretty clear as you look around and listen to the comments on Facebook, you see the videos on YouTube, you look at the comments and chats, like, most of the people that are consistently in this community have zero interest in it. Even the people that were initially kind of interested in it, after they saw gameplay, they saw people playing with the controls, they saw the control layouts, they all changed their mind. So it's not everybody, of course, but it seems like the ones that I knew that were positive about it even had switched their views, versus the people that ultimately bought it, and you wonder how much of theirs is just like, well, I own this thing, so I really am excited because I own it. And at what point will reality set in that it's really hard to play some of these games on that weird control layout? But who knows? The Midway half of that cab came out years ago, back in 2006, 2007. Let's see. I would need a buy stuff booster for sure. And that's for the XL, right? You need a booster for the XL. We saw it today, had money in our pocket and didn't buy it. So there we go. He did not buy the pub table. P-dubs, you had one job, and that was to get Biggie D to spend some money on a pub table. Let's see. Chris says the community and the pandemic brought them a lot of success. Yeah, so it's funny. Obviously, the government made everybody flush with cash during the pandemic, but I hear the same refrain in other hobbies, right? In the retro gaming space, everybody's like, "Well, the pandemic's over. Retro video games prices are going to crash because, not everybody's getting stimulus and people were just buying those things because they were bored." You hear it in the toy hobby. Oh, everybody was flush with cash, so these companies just made all kinds of crazy toys and over flooded the stores. And that's why they all went to Ollie's, just like Arcade1up's, right? So it's interesting how all that money printing during the pandemic boosted up all these industries, especially collectors industries, where people had extra cash that they didn't expect. Even crypto, I would say, falls for this. Like crypto spiked up as part of the pandemic as people had extra money and were investing it in crypto. Um, so it's interesting how all that throwing all that money into into the economy jacked all these companies up artificially, and now that they're coming out of it, they're all starting to feel a pinch, of course, and we're all paying for it as the price of everything in the world skyrockets, but that's a different story. Thor KC says, I'm kind of back in the market considering a pub table. I like the Pong look and the game list, but the new Miss Pac-Man is even better. Not sure. Yeah, I can certainly, if you don't have a Miss Pac-Man, I can see this being a valuable spot if in your home arcade if you've got the right space for it. How did Midway not insist on having a dedicated side panel? Yeah, yeah, that, and why did IT say, or it's okay to put the Midway logo on the golden T part of this cab? Obviously, they've done that before. If that other company is actually officially licensed and it's not just a you know homemade thing that they're out selling like some of these other multicades, but who knows? I joined the company in February 2020, 1 month before the pandemic hit. I stayed through May 22, so was basically there for the pandemic. So I'd be interested, Darren, like knowing like what are your thoughts about how the pandemic was with that company? Do you think they were artificially inflated from that, or um, have they grown even beyond that? Like, so outside of the pandemic boost, have their sales increased beyond that? And or did they squander this the opportunity they had back then? And Ritual Delos in the house says, "Hey all." And Paul Mindeman says he's 6'2" and the XL is just fine. How the hell tall is Biggie D? You see a claw machine there during your time? Yeah. Yes, inquiring minds want to know, Darren, did you get to play that claw machine? Uh, I'm tempted, knowing that it's been there for a while and we're probably not going to see it. I'm tempted at hounding them to see if they'll sell it to me because I just want a claw machine and I don't want to pay an ungodly amount of money. Though obviously, if I bought it from them in Miami, it would cost me an ungodly amount of money to get it here. But I sit and look in Facebook Marketplace around me, and all the ones that are, sub $1,000 all have broken things in them. Either the claws don't open, or the claws don't close, or it moves around jerky, all kinds of problems. So apparently, B finds them for like $75 at an auction in California. Biggie says he is 6'4". Biggie D and P Dubs together is the Mel Gibson and Danny Glover and Lethal Weapon. Yeah, I was thinking more of the Jay and Silent Bob. Biggie earns all 4 of his G's. Let's see. Darren Kane says, I was trying to think if I heard it mentioned or saw a render while I was there, but he can't remember. So that tells you something. I'm 6'4" as well, Biggie. Mainly sit on the stools to play too. Yeah. And Galaga guy's in the house, and There you go. Jason is, physically hard at the moment, I guess. Carlo says Galaga guy. See, Chris Ford says still not broken Tempest with sticker coin door. Still got a broken Tempest with the sticker coin door. Yeah, the sticker coin doors were weird. Um, horizontally 610, then different time zone. Second of Day says we all rag on Arcade One Up, yet we're still here talking about them because we want them to do better and succeed. 100%. Nothing would make people in this community happier than if they suddenly started producing the cabs we want and had lots of success, and we could walk into any store and find great cabs that we've been looking for. We're just not seeing it. Yep, 100% loyal to arcade nostalgia, not A1UP or anyone else. Exactly. In fact, this is the opportunity for any of the other competitors. Like, now is the time to strike. Obviously, AtGames sliding in with the 4KP. That's the thing. Really, the biggest thing to talk about all year was the 4KP, and it had lag issues all year. Thankfully, as mentioned last night on Super Game Room Dudes and on their Facebook posts and emails that have gone out, they say they have a fix. They rewrote all those tables with the help of Magic Pixel, and they're going to start slowly rolling those out in about a month. And I can't wait. Hopefully, they didn't break anything else, because finally the best thing we've had released this year in home arcade will actually fulfill the promise that they made last Christmas. But we will see. I'm holding out hope that they're going to live up to that promise and all's good. But now's the time for companies like that to strike. Get that stuff out there. And while Arcade One Up is asleep or not paying any attention, and you can really go crazy. Let's see here. Kevin Clausen says, "Oh yeah, screw One Up." Silence is not caring. We care. We want them to do better, so we all get the products we actually want. 100%. No XL. So I say F One Up. Does One Up have some type of patent? So yes. Well, patent is a different. They definitely have trademarks, right, on their brand. I don't know that they have an actual patent. I don't know that they could patent some of the designs. It's probably worth researching, actually doing a patent research. I would suspect if anything's patented, ThinkUp owns the patents, or neither one of them just patented anything. Maybe they didn't think they could patent some of that stuff. Clearly, they can't just patent an arcade design. That's obviously prior work that other companies have. They're releasing the same kind of cabinet designs as the real arcades had, just in smaller form factor. I would think about the only thing that they could patent is the IKEA style flat pack, but how can you get away doing that when furniture and all kinds of other stuff do it? But it would be interesting to find out. Yeah, and he's saying specifically for the 3/4 scale. Congrats, Carl O, for number 2 in Chack and Pop right now. Is the game all about spinner shots? Seems like it. I think even Danny is losing some of his enthusiasm for A1 Up, but totally agree that my loyalty is with the classic games. So I'm going to speed up here a little bit because I think I'm pretty far behind. Oh, the pub table wasn't there. That kind of sucks. Yeah, I noticed in uh, uh, Phil's video yesterday, which I want to give Phil a shout out, because the background of my thumbnail was from his video. There was only one Midway Golden Tea thing left at his Costco, so that tells you anything. They're selling and they're not discounted, so people are buying this. Again, it's a generic multicade, and people that don't know better are picking it up, right? So it's gonna be a moneymaker for Costco and for Arcade1Up, regardless of what we think, and that's let's just hope it doesn't become a trend. The controls on the left side worked. Didn't try the controls on the right side because there was no room and knew it wasn't worth it. Yeah. Yeah, it's the right side seems like the biggest problem, and then, of course, for me, it's the game controls that span across the entire deck, like, reaching on, you know, one hand over here and one hand over here. I mean, it would technically work because it's not like it's a mile long, but it would I think it would be pretty uncomfortable after a while. Wasn't just the pandemic, it was successful before then too, and didn't have trouble selling 13,000 Miss Pac-Man XLs after either. I agree. I think me personally, the biggest problem Arcade1Up had was cheap, free money from investors. And I won't call it free because it was a loan, but they got handed who knows how many millions of dollars, and they got fast and loose with it, trying different things, building relationships with the Miami Dolphins and putting an arcade in a big arcade in a stadium as a marketing effort. I guess if you're trying to conquer the Miami market, that makes sense. But what does it do for the rest of the world? You know, some of the, printing 10 zillion versions of some cabs, making big bets on the Simpsons and big bets on the NFL, and, you know, botching the rollouts, whether it was rolling it out where it wasn't completed, or going too hard into the uh, you know, superstar, celebrity marketing, whatever it is. It was just a lot of missteps and spending money recklessly, honestly. And I know why they did it. They thought they were, they could. They thought that they could get us these things. People would buy the hell out of them, but they overestimate. Instead of using that money to build a stable long-term company, they were swinging for the fences, and maybe they had to. I'm with some of these things. Maybe licensing gave them no choice. Maybe the deals they struck on the loans, they had to make some of those big swings. But it's clear as a company they've learned to stop doing that, and now they might be going too far the other direction only of basically taking no risk and only releasing cabs that they know they can sell without any risk, and that will be high turnover. They can just get them in and out. I think you need a lot of that, but you also need some that you're going to take a risk on, or you'll just wither away eventually. Eventually, everybody's going to have Pac-Man. Eventually, everybody's going to have Golden Tee, and then what are you going to do? Let's see. XL only on right side, Biggie. I have the Miss Pac-Man Partycade to play the games, but I want the pub table in the middle of the room. Yeah, if you have the right space for it, it's perfect. If you need a table in the middle of the room, why not make it a table that plays a great game? But again, it takes a special size. You got to have a right big open room that has room for that. If you have some of these rooms we've seen a lot of people have, you just have these aisles and there's just really not a lot of room in there. But then again, a lot of people just have them around the outer edges and have plenty of room. Trackball wasn't bad. I was able to hit spares and bowling a few frames I played. Yeah, the trackball and the one I have in the deluxe is just fine. It works good. I have no complaints on that trackball. Darren Kane says, my personal opinion is that Arcade1Up gave the retailers way too favorable terms in being able to deep discount the product and devalue perception. That said, I wasn't privy to those contracts. So on one hand, hindsight 2020, I would agree with you, Darren. The returnability, the chargebacks that people were able to give and push back on A1Up when they discounted was a bad decision. On the other hand, was that what they had to do to get into the store to prove that they could sell these things, right? What is the killer difference Arcade1Up has versus everybody else? They're in retail stores. You can walk into a Walmart, you can walk into a Best Buy and see these things. You can walk into Nebraska Furniture Mart, the Brick, a bunch of other stores, right? You can't do that with any of these other vendors, really. There are probably a few places maybe where you can get something like that. Screwing with my speakers now. But that's what really, I think, A1Up hit the home run, is getting in the retail space was huge for them. And let's face it, to get into Walmart, to get into some of these places, they have to take it on the chin. They need Walmart a hell of a lot more than Walmart needs them. Walmart can put anything in that space and make just as much money, if not more money. If you think of how big those things are, when you talk retail, you're talking dollar per square foot in sales that you want. And Arcade1Ups take a lot of space. And so and there's not much profit in them. Which would you rather sell, uh, you know, uh, Arcade1Up that Walmart's maybe making 50 or $75 on, or in that section you could have, you know, think it's in the, let's say, the DVD section, same amount of space you could put in, 700 DVDs and make $2 a piece on each one. I mean, you're going to get a lot more profit in that tiny little space selling something smaller at a smaller price point than you will with these big ass Arcade1Ups with very little margins. But so Arcade1Up had to do that to get in the door to prove these things could sell. Once they've got the retailer hooked saying, look, these things sell, now the retailer is probably less, you can back that out. And I think that's probably where Arcade1Up is these days. Their initial agreements, 3, 4, 5 years down the line are coming up for renewal. They're pulling those kinds of deals, saying we can't do that anymore. And so these stores will stock less, but at the same time, now they have more favorable terms. But well, who knows? We're just all guessing. None of us know for sure there. Main reason why I play a call machine is to win a prize. If I own all the prizes, I don't get the appeal, but to each their own. So one of my favorite things in arcades is claw machines. Always have since I was a kid. I love playing claw machines. I play them to this day. Anytime I see one, I pretty much go play it. I love them. Um, what I want a claw machine for is I have little kids. I think it would be really fun to fill the thing up with little stuffed animals, little ducks. You could put the little ducks in there and write numbers on the bottom of them. You could myriad. You could put eggs in there, like Easter eggs. You could put candy in there, whatever. And then as your kids are doing chores or get good grades or whatever, you let them go down and play the claw machine until they win something, right? It's just a great way to reward your kids, teach them a little bit of fun about arcades and how they can be rigged, like claw machines, especially. They can be set really loose or set so you can actually win something. But it's just a good way, a wholesome way to reward them for doing good deeds and give them an opportunity to teach them some economics about spending money and saving money, et cetera, et cetera. So for me, it's something I've always loved in an arcade. I want to share that with my kids, and I think it would just be a fun thing to do. My kids love them because I love them. When we go eat at a pizza restaurant and there's one there, I'm playing them to win them rubber balls or rubber ducks or whatever's in the things. So I just know they'd have a blast. And what better way to do it than to have one at your house? Yes, we could just go buy the prizes, whatever, but it's just the fun of doing it, in my opinion. Steve Sale, thanks for dropping by. Appreciate you and glad to see you in the house. Biggie D says it's a great time to mod and improve the cabs we have. 100%. That's about all anyone can do right now. Is take the opportunity to mod, find deals on Facebook Marketplace, update those, and make the games you love. Like I said, I've talked about it on this channel 100 times. I made an Akari Warriors cab. I love Akari Warriors. Nobody's ever going to make us a damn Akari Warriors. And thanks to Glenn's Retro Show, who made those sticks, I was able to take the Dynamo HS5 and create an Akari Warriors heavy barrel, uh, Guerrilla War, all those other great rotary dial games, and build the cab that I want that nobody's ever going to make. And We have another super chat in the house, Zero Redux. Thank you so much. He says, "Here's to us. We filled our homes with MDF, made one up rich, and now we're being shown the door by normies who've never heard of Qbert." Well, indeed, I guess. That is certainly one way to put it. Um, yeah, I mean, it's obviously they've got buying power, but let's hope Arcade1up doesn't lose sight of their existing customers, because I'm fine with them coming out with gateway drugs, right? Get them in the community, sell them, but then give us the good stuff. Give us that sweet sweet Qbert. TNT's in the house says, "What is up, guys?" Tim York says their main thing would be licenses. And MVSX had no issues. Iconic Arcade had no issues. Yes, Iconic Arcade was iconic. Thanks, Chris. Wonder if Iconic's issue is selling any. So I think they're huge in Europe, Chris. I think Iconic Arcade actually sells in Europe, where people have smaller, tinier places than here in the U.S. And I'm willing to bet that Michael B's been their biggest advertising campaign to date. Not that they paid him, but that he's probably getting more audience than the few places in Canada selling it. Danny had been under the weather. Feel better, man. The colonic arcade, indeed. The pandemic gave many people money to spend on whatever, but those folks are not the people who will keep coming back. Totally agree, Paul. In the cash they threw out there in the pandemic was good and bad for many different reasons. I'd question if Pack XL would come out if it wasn't for the boom of the pandemic, though. Glad it did, as it's one of my two favorite cabs. 100%. I love that cab. It's the YouTuber's fault show. Lousy shills. Indeed, Michael B. By the way, I just got done watching your before I went live, your GI Joe Ultimates from Super 7. Pretty interesting. I always kind of like shied away from those because they look kind of corny to me. But I love the stuff Super 7 does in their other Ultimates figures, but those always seem kind of cheesy looking. But it was cool to see them up, your review, because I had only really ever seen them in the box and I haven't paid much attention to them. So appreciate the video. Kind of cool. Good guy says, in the 5+ years of being in this community, I never heard of a single person mention Tubin ever until they could complain about the bad control. So I actually play Tubin on my Legacy, but hadn't in a long time. I played Tubin more on the NES than anything. But it is one that I played, at least when I first got my MK, the Legacy cab. That's when I played quite a bit early on and then hadn't touched in years. So yeah, Tubin life. Blame Canada. It is all Canada's fault. Everybody knows to blame Canada. If Matt Stone and Trey Parker taught us anything, blame Canada. Let's see. Gallagher says, on a worldwide span, yes, Canada and the USA, it's Ohio. And Brooklyn Menace, thanks for dropping by. Appreciated your stream last night. That was a lot of fun. Hope to see you bring back those arcade challenges. That'll be cool. My feet hurt from all the walking. Ohio and Canada, absolutely. White Castle. Diane. So anybody see, not to get totally off topic, did anybody go see Alien Romulus yet? I've heard mixed. I've heard some people say it's really good and other people say it was very meh. So do I, man. I could go for a slider box right now. Costco has my toilet paper money. You mean you're not still sitting on a shed full of toilet paper that you were hoarding to try to make millions of dollars in the pandemic? Yeah, Ohio has good food and bad drivers. Isn't that everywhere? The drivers in the other cities are always bad. You gotta buy them by the sack. I don't know what we're talking about there. It could have been sliders, but I'm thinking it's something completely different. Yeah, having a claw machine would be cool, just don't rehash it every year. Yeah. Yeah, you need a black one, then you need a blue one, then you need a white one. You just gotta rotate through them all. Build a claw with alien eggs. I can get a claw machine. Man, how far behind? There's Kongs in the channel. Thanks for stopping by, B. Modding and tinkering is the main part I love most about this hobby. It is certainly a fun part of it for the people that can do it. I know not everybody is confident enough to go do it. It's a lot easier than you think. You just got to get in. You can turn a video, just work right along somebody else's video. Somebody's done all these things, and it's a lot of fun. The new NBA Jam update was likely for Slim Katie people. I see no difference. Yep. How many bought these G1 cabs during the pandemic still have them? I'm betting not many, right? A lot of people that bought those back then have probably upgraded, except for RGT85 who likes the tiny one. Happy Saturday. Here we go. I'm skipping around. Sure, it's because I'm filming a video for the channel. Nice. I so want to go see it. Me too. Might go see it in the morning. I haven't decided. Columbus drivers are defensive. Cincinnati is more aggressive. Cleveland drivers are just crazy. Ohio drivers. Okay, Michael B. P Dubs, if you're still here, did you guys buy anybody that's going to Chicago in October? This is a question for any of you. I was looking at the convention tickets and I noticed some of the more interesting tours have sold out. Is anybody actually buying any of the tour tickets? I noticed the Tuesday pre-night at, I think it had a tour plus the celebration at Galloping Ghost is already sold out. So even if you buy the 3-day passes, so I was just curious if anybody's doing any of those when they go to Chicago or not. Or are you just getting the show tickets and then just doing whatever? Just curious. Mainly because I'm not really interested too much in the tours. I mean, maybe, but if a bunch of people are going to do them, I might do one. But what happened with ThinkUp? So that is the perfect segue, Zero. I think you were reading my mind, and I did post about this. So if you saw my community post on the ThinkUp lawsuit, you already know this, but the case has been dismissed. It's gone, finito. It was dismissed without prejudice, which means technically ThinkUp could refile. But it seems that the judge granted the defendant's motions, the defendant being Tastemakers and Disruptive Products Inc., which are the same company but have two different lawyers because one's a subsidiary and one's isn't. But again, they filed motions to dismiss because of the venue issues. The agreement that ThinkUp signed with Disruptive Inc. said any dispute had to be adjudicated in the city of New York, in the state of New York, and ThinkUp then filed in New Jersey, and ThinkUp backed themselves into a corner because they were suing to get money under the agreement, and so they basically acknowledged the legitimacy of the agreement by doing so, and so the judge just dismissed it. And so will ThinkUp file again? I don't know. I mean, this is now the second suit that they've kind of filed that's been dismissed. So the first one, those who aren't aware, excuse me, is they filed a trademark infringement claim also in New Jersey against Tastemakers and Disruptive Products. That was in February. In March, they voluntarily pulled that, and then in April is when they filed this new lawsuit. So, knowing where they are financially, how they've laid off basically all the staff but the owner's family. Um, you know, I, I don't know. I mean, we'll see if they refile. I think if they do, they'd have to file in New York. You got to wonder how much money they're going to keep throwing at this. So that lawyers aren't cheap, as you know. And if they're struggling and they had that attempted um, Kickstarter that they couldn't make happen, even though it got enough backers. It's just they're probably running out of runway, unfortunately. Um, maybe maybe they found somebody to work with and are getting some funds that way. Who knows? I hope they did. We've all kind of ideated about getting the band back together. Scott's gone, John's gone, ThinkUp's gone. Those are the three really that brought all together the key pillars that made Arcade One Up. Guys could go do it again, but as of yet, we've heard really nothing from them. So who knows? But that's the big news, if you can call it that. In that, that ruling was almost 10 days ago at this point, or where are we at? Actually, it was 2 weeks ago at this point. So when it happened, there was nothing to show, nothing to talk about. So I figured the next time I went live, I'd tell you guys about it. But I did post about it earlier this week, very early in the week, just to let everybody know in case they cared. But that's where we're at. It was dismissed. That's the end of it. Your last few community posts have been a lot of fun. Yeah, I find myself seeing a lot more of those polls getting thrown out there from other people, and I thought it was fun. And then two, I'm saw some good videos from like vidIQ and a few of these other things talking about the engagement you get from picture polls. And so I've been having a lot of fun thinking of them, and I appreciate everybody participating in those because I do find them very interesting. I'm actually kind of saving them off a little bit to see like, hey, this is what my viewers think about various things, right? Like, typically if you're my viewer, you probably prefer eating cereal like Fruity Pebbles. You like Knight Rider over other cars. You like the Ninja Turtles. Your favorite toys are Transformers. I mean, it's pretty interesting to kind of see where these things are laying out. And of course, despite what P-Dubs thinks, Coke is greater than Pepsi, um, by a large margin, according to this community. But it's pretty fun. And I love thinking through some of these things, and seeing what everybody else has to say. The comments on them are great. Good to see Addicted to Arcade One Up. Yeah, thanks for stopping by. Skipped right over you. And let's see. Tim says the judge said, "Think up, use your brain next time." Yeah, no more handshakes, no more agreements on the back of a paper napkin that nobody signs. And that was somewhat facetious, but they did claim an agreement in an email that didn't even say what they said it said. You never go full Jersey. Yeah, buddy. I hear Magic Pixel offered to help A1 up. Maybe. It wouldn't surprise me. That's one of the things I'm glad that AtGames did that, because I was kind of saying that from the beginning. Like when they first were struggling getting these things after a couple rounds of firmware upgrades, getting them nowhere, and knowing that those Magic Pixel ones work, I was just like, why don't you just have Magic Pixel sit down with Zen and report those over to their whatever engine they're using? It can't be hugely difficult if you know how to code. And now with AI, shit, you can feed half the stuff through AI to optimize and rewrite the code for some different engine. And then you just got to tweak it. And obviously that takes time, but man, it seems like that was a right thing to do. And I don't know if that's exactly what they did. Kind of hints at something to that effect, but I am glad they did it because I think excuse me, we will all be better for it. And maybe they'll actually see those sales take off now because now that the the promise of the Zen tables will actually work. Here's the issue. In the beginning, A1Up tried to give the YouTuber what they wanted, and nobody bought them until they went on clearance. Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree, Travis. I mean, they definitely, yeah, I think it that there's they listened to the community and said, we want to bring you these games you want. But then they didn't do it in a strategic way. And what I mean by that is take Dragon's Lair. That's one a lot of people wanted. So they ordered the shit out of it and kept it in their warehouses to ship out, or the one of the other third party companies' warehouses that they leased. And it didn't sell as much. So the question is, how much market research did they actually do? Did they just look at a Get Loud uh, online survey and said, hey, 3,000 people said they want this thing. Let's buy 15,000 of these things. Like, what was the thought process? How did they actually know how many they sell? If they had done true kickstarting, like I always say, I don't, some of you guys know, some of you don't. I don't know. Like, I used to own my own company, right? And I was in a highly competitive telecommunications space that was dominated by regional monopolies. And they were always trying to tell you, hey, no, you should be doing this. Let us help you go do this. And then you have to ask yourself as a company, if they're telling you to go do that and they're not doing that, why? Right? Why are they zigging and telling you to zag? And so you need to look as a company and say, what are the big people doing? What are the other huge companies doing that are making these specialty collectors items? And that's what, to me, that's what these are. Call them what they will. You're making scale replicas. They're collectors items. You can call them toys. You can call them functional furniture. You can call them arcades, whatever. They're collectors items. Whether they're going to be worth any money or not, who cares? They're nostalgic collector pieces that we want to own. And so you look at the big guys. What are the big guys doing? Well, Mattel, Hasbro, all these other big companies, even some newer ones, right? Look at what New Wave Toys does. Look at what Quarter Arcades does. They looked at what Hasbro and Mattel are doing, and they said, we should pre-sell all this shit. Let's make sure we know how many to make. Let's not just guess. Let's just not hand some company $1 bazillion and say, make as many of these as you can and then send them to us. They said, let's sit down. Let's offer them for sale for a while. Let's rack up the sales in a certain number period. And then we'll order 10, 15% more than that, enough to cover loss, damage, and then have some additionals to sell. And that's how the big guys are doing it. And if the big guys that have billions of dollars to invest in inventory are being that cautious with things that cost more than a couple $100s, then maybe Arcade1Up, you should be doing the goddamn same thing. It's simple business, right? And that was their mistake. They just will not embrace the pre-sale model. I mean, they've done pre-sales, but it's after they've already got them or they're already on a boat. Pre-sell them before you do the tooling. Show us the mock-ups. Show us a prototype. Put it up for sale. Give pre-orders. Go do the limited run thing. Build it and ship it a year later. Yes, it's a long time. It sucks. We have to wait for something, but we're waiting all around now anyway. So at least let us know we're going to know what's coming, and we've already booked our order and know we're going to get it. And you don't have to put it at a discount because we've already ordered it. It just seems so obvious. All of these other companies are doing it. And you can talk about warehouse space, you can talk about this, that, and the other. But when you're pre-selling, all you're doing is shipping it directly from the port to wherever. You can work with FedEx to go straight from the port to the consumer. You can work with Kokum to go from the port to the Kokum warehouse to the consumer. There are so many things you can do, and they don't do that. They don't do it. It makes no sense to me. It's just simple business. It just drives me nuts. So Arcade One Up. My point of that is, Arcade One Up should stop thinking they're smarter than every other company, and look at what the other companies are doing, and steal that. What do they say about artists, right? Good artists copy, great artists steal. I think we've talked about that before on this channel. Apple, Microsoft stole from Xerox. That's how we got the GUI. Like, great companies, successful companies look at what their competition is doing, and they do it, and then they do it better. They don't try to say, I'm smarter than you. You make billions of dollars, but I'm smart. I'm going to figure out a better way. Learn from what they've done, and then build upon it, improve upon it, innovate beyond that. Don't try to reinvent the wheel from the beginning. Uh, don't set timelines. See how you feel tomorrow when you get up. I guess that's Danny being sick. Yeah, Danny, hope you feel better. Yeah, we've been missing you. Haven't seen a lot of content from you in over a week now. So hopefully you do get feeling better soon. As far as prices going up from $2.99 to $5.99, do y'all remember how poor the quality of Wave One cabs were? Yeah, I mean, some of that pricing is we've got more stuff, right? More risers, more games, better marquees. So that's marginally increased prices. Then you have inflation went through the roof, right? Food is 50% higher, sometimes 100% higher than it was back then. Fuel, shipping costs, there's global wars, shipping issues, the Panama Canal's jacked up and they're only getting 50% of the stuff through. There's so many things happening in the world right now that are affecting all the shipping, all the costs of raw materials and the supply chains. A lot of the prices you can chalk up to that too. So it's a combination of they're giving us more stuff and it costs more to make and do everything. What you are describing about pre-sales sounds a lot like crowdfunding. It is. It is crowdfunding. And if Hasbro and Mattel are doing it, these billion-dollar companies, Arcade One Up should think about it. It's what New Wave Toys does. It's what Quarter Arcades do. They pre-sale. They're going to make it, but they go out there and they put that thing for sale long before they start the tooling. I mean, if you've bought in any New Wave Toys, you've seen how this works. You put your sales in, they open that sales window, everybody puts their orders in, and then they start sending you pictures of, okay, here's the first one off the new tooling, and here's now we've edited this or changed this. And you see it every step of the way until they start shipping it to you. They don't make and they don't place an order till they know how many they've sold. It's just smart business. Too late for Arcade One Up. AtGames is now the innovative company. Yeah, we'll see. Certainly the 4KP is innovative, and I'll give them that. And when I say innovative, they're not doing anything that anybody else hasn't already done before. Maybe having the pinball ecosystem, but there are obviously a lot of other people that build virtual pinball tables. So I think they're smart by coming out with the 4KP 100%. I don't know that the 4K Legends Ultimate is a smart idea, but we'll see how that goes. And I think they are a competitor. I just don't know how innovative they are as a company in and of itself. But I like that they're having success. I like that they're giving us products we want. I like that they've given us a low barrier to entry tool for Zen tables, right? You could go play Pinball FX on other virtual tables and probably look great, play great, depending on the video card and things you're using, better than the 4KP. But the AtGames makes it turnkey, makes it simple. And as long as they fix the lag, it'll be awesome. But I don't know how innovative they are outside of that space. Simplicity and good ideas seem to be lost on A1UP. They're just they're order takers. They just listen to whatever the retailer wants and they call it a day. I kind of want Arcade One to go out of business. They are plugging up the toilet. Yeah, I mean, I never wish people to lose their job or anything, but I know what you're saying. I want the licenses freed up so that competitors can come in. Uh, and if they're not going to free up the licenses, then I want competitors to think outside the box and make 5/6 scale or 2/3 scale. Figure it out. Find the hole in the licensing and zig. Go right through there. Find the gaps because I guarantee you they didn't license all scales, all sizes as it were. They can try to bundle up as much as they can, but I guarantee you there's holes in there somewhere. And if not, find the other companies that they haven't produced anything for. God knows there's a ton of them. The paint wore off, the buttons broke off all the time. Oh yeah. Yep, those early quality issues. That game's so innovative, they still can't figure out flipper lag. Well, according to them, Deccan and Dave, they have figured it out. Uh, I'm turning into a pumpkin. Me too. How long has it been? This is, yeah, just over an hour. So there you go. I promised it would be the hardest hour in arcade, and there you go. Common competitors, where are you? Exactly. Come on. Well, eventually, you know what we're gonna have to do? We're gonna have to start our own Kickstarter with this community and just make something ourselves. Because I'm tired of waiting for other people. If I had the liquidity to do it, I would just do it myself. We know you could probably find out who a good manufacturer is over there already that'll help you make 3,000 of them. We know they probably cost 200-ish to have them built and possibly shipped over here. So you're looking at, what is that, 60 grand in production costs. Um, then you got to figure out licensing, you've got to figure out artwork, and all that other stuff. But man, you raise a couple $100,000, maybe you could get one out and then use that to start something else. But who knows? I don't know what the licensing would cost. Maybe you go to Data East and grab that Double Dragon or Karnov or something, and just get one made, and then go from there. Pre-sales are great if you do it right, like New Wave Toys does. Make sure the pre-orders get theirs first and pay the lowest. Well, yeah, I think if you do the pre-orders, the only way anybody gets them is if you order them through that company. Yes, then after everybody's done delivering, and then if you have overstock or other stock, then yeah, then you ship it off to Sideshow or whoever else. But for the most part, you should just supply that way. And that's, to me, Arcade1Up. Keep doing what you're doing with Pac-Man, with Mortal Kombat, with Street Fighter 2, with NBA Jam. Just keep sending those to Walmart and Best Buy. They're perfect gateway drugs. Just keep doing that. Give us the pre-sale, crowd-funded specialty cabs. That's it. That's all you got to do. Not hard. Okay, let's do Qbert then. Well, yeah, I gotta think if, and you guys are gonna kill me because I can't remember his name, but I saw that he was up there with Brooklyn and Glenn and John Hancock up at the Long Island Gaming Expo or Retro Expo, right? Like, if he owns the license and he's running around doing those conventions, I'm betting you could get the license for a decent deal. But I don't know if he actually owns the license or if it's owned by some other company. You'll probably have to build something if you really want it bad enough. Yeah, that's where we're at. Custom. Gotta go custom, Keith. Gotta go custom right now. But I just want to see a new competitor come and fulfill the wants and desires. Burger Time XL, Star Wars XL. So the problem with Star Wars XL is it's Disney and you'd have to have a shitload of money. Tempest XL, Dragon Lair XL. Lots of great options there. I think you could probably get Atari for sure. I mean, Atari works with a lot of companies, clothing and everything else. You could probably get them. Hell, I wonder if you could get them even for some of their recharge games in the home arcade space. But alrighty, so that's really it. I mean, we talked about ThinkUp. We talked about YouTubers being too negative, despite other YouTubers thinking other YouTubers are all shills. It's funny. It's all over the board. So that's what's great about this community. Lots of different opinions, all fun and games. Um, he says I'd probably build AIOs for fighter, Capcom fighter shooters, racers if I had the room. Absolutely. Uh, what about TMNT XL? Yeah, man, Lord knows Nickelodeon seems to give everybody that license. Man, I saw today they're doing WWE TMNT figures now. Crazy. As if He-Man, Marvels, or Masters of the Universe, Turtles of Grayskull wasn't like a crazy enough mashup. WWE and Ninja Turtles. Insane. Um, Warren Davis, Sony owns Kubert. Yeah, so you'd have to license it through Sony. Appreciate that. The Warren Davis cab, obviously. Um, appreciate that, Thumper Squid. And Travis is gone, bros. Well, Travis is talking phones like he always does. Yeah, and he got, he of course talked about it, I think, on your show, Danny. He was pissed off about the way the beta testings were being handled, got irritated at that person, said he'd be around if Arcade1up ever needed him, and I imagine Arcade1up just isn't into spending the money when they're not really doing anything that they know the community won't be excited about. So um, maybe they haven't totally parted ways. Maybe they have totally parted ways. Who knows? But I imagine they're not going to engage him until they actually feel like they have something that they know we will want. That would make the most sense and be the most sensible. Sell Pac-Man and Barcades to Costco and Spreetail, then direct sell. Yeah, yeah. So again, everybody likes to call these Arcade1up's toys. Um, in toys, I have a handy toy. In toys, they do this funny thing, right? When you buy a toy, and not all new toys do this, but it's been a thing for toys for as far back as I can remember. They do this thing on the packaging, right? It's called cross sells, right? So they do this. They put on there, here's all the other figures and accessories and things you can buy. Buy this toy, buy this one, get your baby that explodes, and then enjoy other exploding figures and vehicles in this amazing line. So put the super popular, the Pac-Mans, the impulse purchase arcades that they know will sell to quote unquote the normies. And then on the package or in the package, you say, come to our website. Look at all these other cabs you can buy. Did you know you can get a Tron? Did you know you can get a Roboton 2084? sorry, my throat is all look at all these great things you can get that you can't get in the store. You need to come to our website, check them out. It's simple marketing, but I think they only had one generation where I think the first handful of the cabs last year is the only ones they put any cross sale in the manual. I think in that first Pac-Man Deluxe had hinted at the Fast and Furious was in the manual. I don't think they've had a cross sell in any of the manuals since then or before then. They don't cross sell. They don't do crowdfunded Kickstarter type things. I just don't understand what their marketing team is doing because they miss all these simple things. Gateway Drug, those big name ones, they're their evergreens. Keep them out there forever. Just when you sell out of them, make a few thousand more. Just you don't have to enhance them. You don't have to change them. Just keep them coming out. Keep them stocked in the stores. Let that be the gateway drug to everybody else. And then once they're in, sell them the more expensive stuff. Whatever. Oh, Joe Biden can now run Arcade1up in a few months.
Come on, man.
He can't even run the country. How's he going to run the Arcade1up? Travis parted ways, definitely for the best. Good for Travis. Let's fucking go. James needs a drink. Yeah, I do. I have one, but it's empty. and I forgot to go refill it because I was too busy watching Michael B open his toys. I'm glad Travis chose to leave, but he needs to learn to ask questions because although he's an employee, his reputation with the community was on the line, making all these false promises. Yeah, whatever. True. I mean, it was weird because it always felt to me like he came from outside, even though he was doing some beta testing and was just like, now I'm the big guy because I have a big phone channel. And so I'm going to be the guy for Arcade One Up. And it always felt somewhat disjointed to me, but um, like his personality and stuff, it's just is what it is. Especially when the things he talked about, then he backed away from once he actually was getting a paycheck from him. A1UP marketing team consists of a drunk hamster. Yeah, definitely Devastator. I think you're right. Um, on the hamster wheel. A year ago, Travis told us about the promises made to him from Arcade One Up to get him to stay when he was quitting. Guess that went nowhere. Good for him leaving. Yeah. Yep. Due diligence, Travis. I hope you learn for the next venture. All right. Once again, I want to thank everybody for joining tonight, and I really appreciate it. I have a big announcement coming up, so look for that sometime next week if all goes well. Was supposed to be this week, but it didn't happen. I working with another company, and they had to go back, but should be good to go this week. So I will be dropping a major announcement on the channel sometime this week. Fingers crossed. Um, but I'm really excited for it. And I think you might get a kick out of it. So I'm really excited for that. And hopefully all goes well. So I wanted to hint for that. Also, next week is KC Retro. So that's Kansas City's big retro gaming convention. Once again, it is sponsored by Unico. So I'm hoping they have the newest prototype at the convention. Of course, as you guys know, I have somewhat of a review. I got to sit and play with the original prototype for a couple hours a few weeks ago. Um, if they have the new prototypes at the convention, better yet, if somehow they've gotten some early releases and they'll let me buy one, which I don't think they do. They're just shipping now, I think, from overseas. But if they have the newest prototypes there, I will definitely get some footage for that. May go live from there, but I have a bunch of video ideas that I'm going to shoot while I'm there, both toys, video games, arcades, all that fun stuff. But so I should have a lot of content from that. And so I will be doing that all next weekend, but I'm planning to bring some of that for Saturday night show. So I'm really excited. Probably run into Cool Toy. I know he typically is there. So are a few other local YouTubers like the Gaming Historian and Nerd Nation, a few others. So I might stop and talk to those guys and have them say hi to you guys. Who knows? We'll see how that goes. But I'm excited. I always love it. It's a fun show. It's slowly getting bigger over the years. I mean, so I'd like to see it keep growing. You know, if you're in the Kansas City area or like traveling to Kansas City, I highly recommend it because it is a lot of fun. This year, I think they are going super hard on cosplay. We've had some big cosplay conventions here in Kansas City. Of course, we have Planet Comic Con, which was actually on the cosplay TV show on Sci-Fi in its first season, and that community has just got bigger and bigger as nerddom got bigger and bigger. But here in Kansas City is massive, and so they are going all out this year for cosplay at KC Retro. So that should be a lot of fun. Kevin's in the United States area. Well, then just drop on by. We're right in the middle, right? So just it's perfectly located for everybody. So if you're in the United States, hell, if you're in Canada on an island, just come on in, come to KC Retro. And so yeah, with that, I appreciate everybody coming and stopping by and I had a lot of fun with you guys. Hopefully you did too. Don't forget to hit the like button on the way out. I appreciate you guys subscribing. And if you don't, like I said, I'm going to have to go delete your high scores. So make sure you are subscribing. And until next time, have fun.